Hey everybody, this video is to help you review for the retakes of the graphing quadratics test. No intro, no theme song, here we go. Alright, so here's your prompt. Find the vertex, then decide if the following points would be on the graph of the given equation. So, there are two forms we're going to look at. This is what's called standard form. It's called standard form because it's written out as the quadratic term, then the linear term, then the constant term. Okay, so this is where our a equals 1, our b equals -5, and our c equals -11. To find the vertex, if it's in standard form, you do x equals opposite of b over 2a, which in this case is the opposite of -5, which is +5, over 2 times 1. So the x-coordinate of our vertex is 5/2, which is 2.5. To find the y-coordinate of our vertex, we take that x value and we plug it in. You have to use parentheses while you do this. Okay, so that's what it looks like plugged in, and then you can use your calculator or you can use your brain to evaluate that. Okay, so 2.5 squared is 6.25. -5 times 2.5 is -12.5, and then the -11 just carries down. When I combine those, I get -17.25. So that's the y-coordinate of my vertex. Okay, so that is the first step. The first step is to figure out what is the vertex. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out if these points are on the equation's graph or not. The way you do that is very similar to finding the y-coordinate of the vertex. You plug in the x-coordinate and you see if that gives you the y-coordinate. So you plug in the x-coordinate. So for this one, I would get 0 squared minus 5 times 0 minus 11. Does that give me the y-coordinate -11? 0 minus 0 minus 11? Yes, it does. For the next one, I would do the same thing, except I would plug in +2. So 2 squared, remember to use parentheses, minus 5 times 2 minus 11. That's 4 minus 10 minus 11. Now I think when I do that, I get -17, which is not 19. So since that gives me -17, my answer is no, that is not a solution. Moving on to the next one, I would plug in +5. Remember, I would do this in parentheses. So I would do 5 squared minus 5 times 5 minus 11. 25 minus 25 minus 11. That does give me -11. And finally, I would plug in 7 for the last one. That would be 7 squared minus 5 times 7 minus 11, or 49 minus 35 minus 11, which does equal 3. So there'd be 3 answers for yes and 1 answer for no. All right, it's time to move on to the next example. Okay, the next example is the same type of problem, but uses another form of the equation. This form, where there's one set of parentheses squared, is called vertex form, which makes finding the vertex really easy. These two numbers give us information about the vertex, while this first number gives us information about the steepness. The number connected to x tells you about the vertex x coordinate, but it's the reverse. That's not quite how you spell reverse. How about that? Much better. The number out back does tell you the vertex y coordinate. It is not the reverse. So what I mean by that is that this would have a vertex of 3, -1. You switch the inside, keep the outside. So while finding the vertex for this one is a bit easier, plugging in the points isn't much easier. So let's take these as examples. I'm going to clear out this information on the steepness and the vertex so that I have some space to work. So I'm going to plug in the x-coordinate and see if that gives me the y-coordinate. I need to be very careful about observing order of operations. So, for example, I need to do the parentheses first. Then the exponent. Then I need to multiply. Now, 9/4 is... Hey Google, what's 9/4?
The answer is 2.25.
Ah, 2.25. So that's going to give me 1.25, and that is what I'm looking for. Now, you can't use Google when you're retaking the test. So the answer is yes. Moving on to the next one. -1, 3. Now, for some of these, you might be able to do them mentally. Let me show you how that would work. -1 minus 3 is -4. -4 squared would be +16. +16 divided by 4 is 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So this is a solution. You don't have to do that mentally. Y equals 1/4 times -1 minus 3, all squared, minus 1. Y equals 1/4 times -4 squared minus 1. The most common mistake here is to forget your PEMDAS. This is -4 squared, then multiplied by a fourth. So 1/4 times 16 minus 1, or 4 minus 1, that does equal 3. All right, next, we're going to plug in 5. When I plug in 5, oh, that's not what I want, is it? 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4. One-fourth of that is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. This is not a solution. For the final one, I'm going to plug in -3. Be careful when you're using negatives. -3 minus 3 is -6. -6 squared is 36. 36 over 4 is 9, and 9 minus 1 is 8. That is not what I'm looking for. Now, some people get this wrong because they think that this looks like the vertex. That is there intentionally to mislead you, so make sure you're careful. All right, I hope you find this video helpful. Enjoy.